Hello everyone, welcome back to your daily reading. This tarot is first, and my intention is to bring through 3 cards to help you with whatever you most need to know for the day. And as you'll see by the title that this one's for Sunday, March 30th. And of course I'm using the Lightseers Tarot, as you can see. Whoops! Okay, well, 4 cups in the morning. It's Sunday. Why not sleep in? The moon's in Cancer. Maybe you can't decide on what do I want for breakfast. Right? With the 4 of Cups, you know, you've either had too much the night before and you don't want anything when it comes to food or drink, or you're just not real interested in anything. It can be a card of apathy. We might be fighting off a little apathy, or just not getting what we want. Now, on the spiritual level, it's a really... Oh, I just heard stop. Okay. It's a really good card for meditation. So if you wake up in the morning and you just want to lay there in bed and meditate, I do that a lot. Or, you know, try to sit up a little bit so I don't fall back asleep. But sometimes if you fall back asleep, you have some really good dreams that are very informative. But anyway, so 4 of Cups can be meditation, contemplation. Those are the key words. And most of all, it's looking at things. Maybe you're trying to figure out what you really want. Right? Maybe you're reevaluating where you are and what you really want. And maybe something came up in dream time to help you with that. But it's interesting because, you know, somebody's offering, you can see the big, beautiful, light-filled cup full of that passionate purple, pink, raspberry. Is that chartreuse? Is that what chartreuse is? Or chartreuse or lime green? I always get mixed up with that one. Anyway, it's a lot of passion, a lot of light. I had an experience once with a really old friend. We were standing outside and talking to each other before we got back in our cars. I'd met her for lunch. And all of a sudden, this big bolt of this color of light came down right between us. And she didn't see it. I guess it was just for me, but I think I was feeling, you know, the passion she had for our relationship. We've been friends for years and years and years and still are. But anyway, I'll never forget that. And the only other time I've seen this kind of light was when I lived up in the mountains with a lot of snow. And again, that only happened once. It was such a phenomenal... I'll never forget those 2 times. But anyway... That's what's coming down into this bowl. But she's not looking at it. She's looking over here. So I think it's, when it comes to meditation, just know that what you need to do in order to grow, which is what the moon in Cancer is all about, to grow psychically and spiritually, is to remember that what we focus on is what we get. So if you're in the place where you don't know what you want, that's okay to be in that place. Like, never beat yourself up for where you are. But if you don't know what you want, what you really could do would be to pray for inspiration. That's what would really be helpful. Because if you're just like, going around like, I don't know what I want, well, you're kind of screwed. Because you're just going to keep getting more of that. So work to open up with the 5 of Wands. Work to open up the passion for constructive attitudes in your life, for understanding what a destructive attitude is, which is competition and strife and compulsively trying to just be the guy at the top that's always got to be at the top just because you've got some issue. It's an ego issue with Saturn and Leo. And to master that would be to just allow yourself to have more fun and to open up to your constructive, the constructive side of you that can change things, you know. Because it's always this with the Five of Wands, it's always a struggle on a spiritual level. It's a struggle between constructive and destructive attitudes. So if we look and see where we've gotten based on what we've done in the past, then we know that we can forge a new, trail and go forward in a different way. So yeah, okay. Then with the Nine of Wands, I love the artwork in this card because she's behind the fence rather than in front of it. She could step over it. It's not, insurmountable at all. But I like the way she's looking up at, what do I really want again, too? Because this is a card of endurance. To have the 5 and the 9 come in, this is about, forging those new frontiers. It's a weird way to say that. I don't know why I said that, but of getting what you really want and then having the endurance with the Nine of Wands to follow through and just keep on going. Because this card, the Nine of Wands, is all about that courage to just persistently hold on to your faith. It's all about those long-term goals and trusting your vision. Like if you look, I don't know if her eyes are closed or not. I'll have to. Yeah, I guess they're open. I guess she's kind of looking down like, come on, just try me. That's what I'm seeing there. Cool. All right, so let me move these aside, and here's our astrology for the day. And I have it set at 4:58 a.m. Pacific because that's when Neptune... Hold on, let me bring this up a little. Can you see? Yeah, I hope you can see that right here. This is when Neptune moves into Aries. Now, we haven't had Neptune in Aries since 1861. And from what I remember reading up on it, it was the day after we started after the Civil War started. Now, we have to remember the outer planets were in a very different place. Like Pluto was in Taurus, Uranus was in another sign. The rest of the planets, the planetary alignments are in very different places. So I'm not going to say that another civil war is going to happen. What I am going to say is, astrologically, Neptune will stay in Aries. Well, there's going to be a dip back into Pisces when it retrogrades. That will happen July 4th, which that's kind of interesting to go back into... No. It'll be at 2 degrees of Aries then, and it'll start the retrogradation process July 4th. And then by December 10th, it'll make it back to Pisces, but only 29 degrees of Pisces for some time. Yeah. Or as it... No. I'm sorry. I'm reading my notes over here wrong. On July 4th, Neptune will be... See how long it takes? Like this. This is March 30th. We could say April 1st, just for fun. With Neptune being at 0 degrees of Aries. By July 4th, it only makes it to 2 degrees of Aries. It does take almost 165 years to get all the way around the zodiac, and it spends 14 years in each sign. So, anyway, back to the retrogradation process. It's going to stay in Aries until October. It's going to retrograde July 4th, but still stay in Aries until October 22nd of this year. And then it'll dip back into Pisces to all the way only to 29, 22, and it'll station direct December 10th. So we could effectively say that we're in this edge of... We're on the edge, we're on the tippy toe. And you know how Aries energy is like 2 steps forward and 1 step back? It's kind of like, because it comes from... Aries energy is very instinctual, and we're kind of like daring to try something out. And with the cards, it's like, I know this is Saturn and Leo, but it's wanting to win. The Aries energy is kind of wanting to win. So it's all about asserting your independence and your individuality. And you don't want to be left out, because nobody likes being left out. And if you have a lot of Aries in your chart, Neptune's going to cross over those natal planets and kind of soften things. You're going to soften up and be more sensitive than you've ever been. And so you might not be so, headstrong or impulsive, or you might not care anymore about being left out, or you got to be first. All those, if you do have a lot of Aries energy, as we age, we get older, we have transits that transform us in a way that, whatever it is that we need to transform, life will bring it to us. That's the way our birth charts are set up. But for all of us, with Neptune and Aries, well, it can be that because Neptune rules the higher self. On the highest levels, the best way we can use the energy is to ask yourself ask your higher self to help you remember who you truly are, from Great Spirit, from God, from the highest realms, from whatever you want to call it. In the highest levels of light, you are a being that is no one else. It's only you. It's only you. There's no one else. No one else can do you. Only you can do you. So you might as well make sure you know who you truly are, and keep working towards that every day, and keep opening to that. And that's how you spiritualize matter. Neptune is spirit. Aries is matter. With the sun in Aries, it's helpful. Now, today you can see how the moon has crossed over Chiron and is right in the middle, like a sandwich in between. So with Chiron being the planet it's a planetoid, it's a centaur, being the representation of just, some deeper wounding. Natally, you may not have Chiron and Aries in your chart, but all of us are learning how to stand up for ourselves and bring through those gifts of, daring to be ourselves and assert ourselves. Positive self-assertion is a beautiful thing. And with Eris over here, the moon conjunct Eris at the same time Neptune is in Aries, I would just bet there are some major protests going on, especially for women, because, I've said it a million times, I'm sure, that pretty much we've had it, right? And Eris is our feminine counterpart she's stronger than Pluto. She's a, dwarf planet like Pluto, and also like Ceres up here. But she brings through that, kick butt kind of Joan of Arc energy, where she's just not taking it anymore. So she's our feminine struggle for equality. And with the moon ruling the public in Aries, hitting that up first thing in the morning, and I know it's Sunday and everybody's supposed to be resting, but it sure doesn't look like it. And even the cards, because that first card coming out, like, we're not getting what we want. And so we can't be apathetic and we can't give up on it. We do have to fight for it, if I were to read the cards from that angle, and we do have to persevere and stick with it. Otherwise, we won't ever get what we want. People that give up on getting what they want fall into pessimism, and that is completely, the negative side of being inspired. If you give up, you're never going to get it, right? So anyway, back to the, Neptune's ingress into 0 degrees of Aries, we could say that the next 14 years are going to be all about, number one, the feminine struggle for equality, and hopefully getting some real strong, because there's no way, if we keep going in the direction that the Trump regime wants us to go, we're going to be in Handmaid's Tale territory. And we don't want that. We don't want what's going on with Canada. We love our Canadian friends. We love our us Americans, or we're not behind Trump. There's a small, tiny percentage of people that are. And as soon as they wake up and figure out what's going on, which, they're probably going to have to go through some pain, because financially, that's usually, people don't learn unless, people who are dense and ignorant and moving forward from their ignorance, they always have to learn the hard way. And the hard way entails loss of finance, loss of health, loss of relationships, and that pretty much, to the point to where they're isolated and they have to stop and think about how they got to where they are. And it might not even happen in this lifetime, right? That's just the way it works. That's especially the case while Mercury's retrograde and it's moved back into Pisces, and is conjunct Venus as well. Venus and Mercury have retrograded back to a place where they had already been, right? And because, that everything's transiting this way, except for the nodes, which are going clockwise. The other transits are going counterclockwise. And that's because as a human, you have to put yourself in the center of the wheel, and you're looking up. So it's like a mirror image. Anyway, that's another whole thing, but whatever. So with Mercury and Venus in Pisces, we are seeing the bigger picture if you want to look. The information, the truth has always been out there. You just have to want to look. Neptune ruling the masses of people are going to probably want to look back and remember all of Trump's lies. And there's so much information out there. If they want to look, all they have to do is go on any social media platform and people are talking about the truth. You're also going to have the cults that are still, holding hard and fast. But with those 4 trines to Mars in Cancer, you can bet they have family members who are saying, hey, look in this direction. Or the family members have already gone in that direction and left the cult member stuck to Trump wherever they are, right? Saturn ruling the government has been victimizing Trump's regime with Pam Bondi at the FBI, as the AG, Kash Patel as the FBI director, John Ratcliffe as the CIA director, friggin' Tulsi Gabbard, head of DNI. My goodness, what in the world? Michael Waltz as the NSA advisor, he's in trouble. Elise Stefanik, I don't think she's even getting in. But, and then RFK Jr. with Health and Human Services, with the stuff going down with the measles. So life is mirroring back to them that they're full of shit. And then Pete Hegseth, we've got an alcoholic at the helm of our secretary, being the secretary of the Department of Defense. Like, what? An alcoholic, Fox News host that just cares more about his hair and how he looks and getting attention. And then Kristi Noem with Homeland Security. Oh my goodness. So this Saturn and Pisces, when I talk about these people aligned with the Trump regime, I am talking about being gaslit, literally gaslit and victimized by the government. So there's some period of time that has to go by before Saturn makes it to Aries, 0 degrees of Aries. It's going to take some time. We're going to have to wait. Saturn won't make it to Aries until May 24th. And then it's going to have a little bit of a retrogradation back into Pisces until January 6th of 2026. So people are going to wake up slowly, and we have to hang in there, just like the cards came through with endurance. We have to hang in there, and not fight each other. We've got to hold on to those constructive attitudes and not be complacent, not be apathetic, but we are going to need endurance, is the way I see it. So, the sun's going to progress and be in Taurus before we know it. The moon, of course, about every 2.5 days it changes signs. Tomorrow, I can promise you, it'll be in Taurus. But this chart, to have Neptune with its first ingress into Aries since 1861, and we'll stay in Aries. We're going to have Neptune in Aries until the year of 2038, right? Well, actually March 2039 with a little bit of a retrograde in Taurus of 2038. But then, yeah, so there's that. It's a long time. And I know about you guys, how old you are, but I kind of feel like this is my last chapter. I think I'll make it. I might make it till I'm pretty sure I'll make it till Neptune moving into Taurus, but I know for sure that Pluto will be in a maybe 19 years. Maybe Pluto will be in Pisces. I don't know how long I'm going to live. I always thought it would be 88. I don't know why I got that number in my head, but I did. So 18 more years for me, maybe. But, you can look at the outer planets and you can kind of figure out like what the energy is going to be like. The transformation, the journey of our soul for the next 20 years is all about, with Pluto and Aquarius, is all about the power of people coming together and networking for humanity, for brothers and sisters. Aquarius is literally the law of brotherhood and sisterhood. So if we're not working in that light, then we're aligned with idiots like Elon Musk and Trump, because they're only working for their pocketbook. Or to be Elon, I'm sure, just wants to be a trillionaire, the richest man or whatever. He's already, well, we don't know, actually. We don't know if he's the richest man because we don't know how much money Putin has. Because oligarchs, they hide their money, right? We only know for sure that both Trump and Musk are very sick men. And they have no business running any governments or participating in any government policies at all. So I am going to go out on a limb and say that Neptune, ruling the masses in the sign of Aries, is masses of people protesting. And it's because we all want security and we're all tired of being gaslit by the government. It's very simple. And we will activate whatever we need to in order to, with Uranus and Taurus, we're gathering facts from the past. We're thinking about our health with the South Node in Virgo. And we're trying to go forward in a way where we can master our, the spiritual foundation of our life, and we want to include everyone else. We don't want to be exclusive. We're not wanting to exclude others when you're working in the light, and that's the light side of Saturn and Pisces. You don't have a spiritual foundation if you want things for yourself that you do not want others to have, because that's excluding, because you think you're better than them, right? I mean, what? I don't think so. Homie, don't be having that. Homie, don't play that game. Ugh. I need a big sock with a, what is it? Had a sock. What did Homie the Clown? It was a sock with a, oh my God, which Wayne's brother was it? Is it the dude? I'm totally off on a tangent here. Is he the dude that's in Papa's house or something now? Remember the guy that played, I can't remember which Wayans it is because there's so many of them. But anyway, Homie the Clown with the sock and the tennis ball and the sock, and he'd smack you on the top of the head, and the sock had chalk dust in it too, so white powder would go everywhere. God. Oh, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go on YouTube and look for In Living Color episodes and Homie the Clown. He don't play that game. So that's us. That's us in the future. And Saturn, that's us now, actually. We've been here for a long time. Jupiter, let's see. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not Jupiter to Saturn. It's Jupiter to Ceres. Okay, now Ceres, again, is all about protecting humanity and our fur babies and animals and food and farming, and it's also related to all the cycles that a woman goes through in her lifetime. So, of course, we've been victimized that way because they've cut off Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision, and if you get pregnant and have a miscarriage, you might not live. You might not live through it. That's a fact. So here are the facts back here. They're related to health. And the other polarity of it is being victimized and not included, because women aren't as, when we're talking like Alito and Clarence Thomas, women aren't equal. Right? It's a lie. They just lie. So with the square to Jupiter, more people should be learning about this, where that's coming from. And Ceres is also connected to grief and separation. And this is also the challenge to immigration. If you're legally trying to immigrate here, or you've had a visa and you've been doing everything that you've been told to do, and now you have an opinion about Trump and you happen to write about it, well, they'll just go and pick you up off the street and take you away. And then, but a judge in Massachusetts came down on Trump about that. The problem is he doesn't adhere to what judges say. So he's going to have to learn some really hard lessons. He's acting like a toddler that hasn't gotten his way. And he's going to blow up when everybody keeps saying no to him because he can't handle that. They can't handle. Born psychopaths, they can't handle being told no. And often were not when they were children. So that's going on. The other thing, I think the last thing I want to talk about, well, actually, it's the same thing I've already spoken about. So Chiron, the moon, and Aries squaring Mars, I did address that. Okay, those 3 squares, I did address that. The inconjunct here, the green line with the sideways K, that's an inconjunct. It's pointing to the past, the south node with just the facts, and health matters, and service matters, work matters, people within the federal government being fired left and right, trying to make the adjustment. And the moon, so this is how I think I can pretty firmly predict. I've been working so much, I haven't been able to keep up with like what's scheduled. What I'm getting is information from Rachel Maddow's coverage as to all the protests and what's happened, but it's already after the fact. So I can't say for sure. But based on the astrology, I would have to say that there should be mass protests today. There really should be. If not, there's something out of alignment, but it sure looks like it to me. Massive protests. Yeah, because the public, right? The moon rules the public, and the public feeling the mood. This is like putting Mars and the moon together, and Mars and the moon are together by the square, and they have the oomph of Chiron, which doesn't like to be left out and unincluded, who wants independence, and Aries about, with all the feminine struggle for equality, and it's connecting to Mars. And Mars is the ruler of Aries, right? So it's like if you're doing the math here, there's a double, there's a triple, and the conjunctions increase each of the planets' power, or in this case, one planet and the luminary of the moon, and Chiron being a planetoid. But still, it's there. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, as always, big hugs. Take good care. Get lots of sleep. Get as much sleep as you possibly can during these times. And if, take care of your diet, take care of each other, love each other up. And that'll be the best that we can do, besides fighting and voting, fighting peacefully. God. Yeah, maybe that's another aspect of Neptune and Aries. Aries fighting peacefully for a higher cause. Okay. Bye, you guys.